Hey everybody, welcome back. Episode 12 I believe we're starting here, and I have a few things I want to try to do this weekend, and main priority is getting the bug catcher finished up, and we're also trying to test out a few things. I did go to the auto parts store and I picked up some light bulbs from my Taillights. I found that only one of the reverse lights was working. I don't know if you've seen in a previous episode, you might have caught a glimpse of the taillights. One of the lenses were off, and I'll show you all a little bit more about that and some of the difficulties I'm going through. Anyways, I got some light bulbs and I also got some butane. I need to refill my little torch. This is what I'm supposed to be using to heat shrink stuff with, and well, it ran out. And so I was using a lighter, which works okay, but I have another thing I want to try. We're going to try an experiment. I have bought some connectors. I'm going to show them to you right here. These are the larger ones. These are actually blue, and these are connectors like you get with the crimp style. And if y'all seen the earlier episodes, how I deal with I pull the sleeve, the metal sleeve, out of the little blue crimp connector and use it, just the metal piece, and then put heat shrink over it. Well, I picked up these. Let's see if we can get that in there. Please focus. So what this is a connector for your wires, and you have a piece of metal here in the middle, and you have two blue bands, and they heat shrink. And when you heat shrink it onto your connection, that actually is like a soft solder, and these bands help hold on to the wires. So I'm going to experiment, and I'm going to try one of these out on just a piece of wire, just to see what the tensile strength is and how well these things hold. As far as connection, I bet they're really good about keeping a good conductivity through there, but I want to see if these are worth it, and they're heat shrink and everything in one. I picked these up off of wish.com, and I got several sizes here. There's a batch of blue ones, a smaller size, a batch of red ones, and itty bitty ones. These are a white band. I don't know if I can get that camera to focus that close. Anyways, they're all connectors, and I think these are going to be interesting to try. I have a lot of troubles when using really tiny wires. The wires you'll find in your USB cord, tiny. Anyway, I'm hoping these will do the trick, because it's hard. It's hard to get those things to work. So without further ado, it is mail call time. Got a package in the mail. Let me see if I can spot. Right there it is. My knife, my trusty little knife. Let's open this up. All right. Got a box inside. All right. Let's see what we got here. Air filter. This is gonna be awesome. I hope this is the right size. I actually found that they had a very good description online for this one, and it showed a drawing and showed what the measurements were measuring. That looks a lot better. Okay. This Spectra is a brand of filter that's rewashable. So this is probably the last filter I buy for the bug catcher. Anyways, I find this brand is on the shelf in AutoZone, O'Reilly's and stuff. And you remember this one I bought? Yeah, size difference. I think this is going to go way better. This is the direction it fits. Let's see. Yeah, that's good. Much better filter. I want you to see this. It's paper. That's paper. It's just paper and a little rubber. There's no metal. This is the only stiffness you have, is this thick cardboard right here. On this one, you have rubber along these sides. Now let's look at the back side. You know why I like this? Because it's known, you get a squirrel out in the neighborhood or what have you, and they will actually chew through your filter. Without this screen right here, it'll let that paper go straight onto your engine. You don't know they got in your engine and made a little nest out of your filter. That stops it. It's great stuff. All right, So with that said, I think I need to figure out how to fit this in. Let's take a little pause here. I'll pull that bug catcher scoop off, set it up here. Let me see how this fits the dimensions for the bottom of that air filter bug catcher scoop. This is the air filter fitting the bottom of that scoop. Let's do that. All right, so here we are again. I'm going to take this plastic off this filter, and it is sealed real well on the top side, but there's something I noticed that I don't know if this is going to be a problem or not. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if that's supposed to be attached. It looks like it's kind of, no, I think it just sits in a groove. So this metal part is just for stability or whatever. So that's the direction it's going to sit in. And I want this edge here to sit on this. So for just dimensions purposes, I'm going to flip it over to see how well it fits. Oh, it's just snug. I can't, it'll slide, it's snug enough in there that it's a tight fit. It's perfect. Side to side this way. This way, it is, I'm going to say perfect. This is the filter I need. Of course, it's going to sit in here upside down. So, you can see just how it's about 1/8 of an inch taller than the outside of this metal ridge. This rubber is 1/8 inch taller. That's great. Now all I need to do is, when I set this up, you can see there's a bolt hole here, and I think in the previous video I was calling these bolts, and there's actually just threaded holes. They're exposed here, and when I turn this on up, you can see they're exposed here. This is just right. So what I need to do now is find a way to take the bottom of this. I have to do two things. I not only have to drill a hole here and put in some type of pipe to suspend the distance here, so whenever I put a bolt in, it's going to be holding, this is an unlevel surface the bolt's going to be going into, so I need something to flatten out that surface, some sort of pipe, just to expand this distance here from the bottom of this to the top of this. And I do that all the way around, and I also need to put in some type of metal piece here, a ridge that's going to seal along the front of this right there. Keeping in mind this is going to be upside down in there like that, so it's going to land right there on that surface. I think what I really need is going to be something that sits across the front edge to keep this from bowing out and going down when something sets on it, and something to set on that edge. I think I can do that. I think I got that. That shouldn't be too hard. So the next thing I need to do is cut these 4 things off so this can set on down in. These are things I'm going to do tomorrow, because tonight it's a little bit late to be making that much noise, and yeah, I have patience. I can wait for that. But that is the filter. It's the perfect size. Awesome. Now I know what it takes. And I wonder, and this is just in my own little brain, how many other Corvette owners are going to want this kit, and if I make several of these, if they will sell. As time consuming as it was to figure out what goes where and how to do it, yeah. Anyways, that is going to do. But for tonight, there is one thing I can do, and that is test out one of these little fittings on a piece of wire. It shouldn't take too long. Let me try that out. So let me put this away so I don't get it all burned up or torn up, and try that wire out real quick. Okay, so this is a can of butane. It's supposed to go in the bottom of this, but that nozzle doesn't fit the bottom of that. The cap has 5 different nozzles, and on the inside they're just a little different shaped. And looking at the two, I don't know which one belongs in that, so I'm gonna have to guess. That's scary. So we'll just knock them all out. Just break them all loose. Come on, y'all can come out of there. And there's one, there's two, there's three. Come on out. And what I'm gonna do is just see if I can't get them to. Okay, so watch this last one be the one that actually fits. Yeah, I better get it out. Okay, so we got all 5 of them out. And all I'm gonna do, there's no butane in this, so I can push these on here. See what, that don't seem to do the trick. That's a little bitty. I don't know. I mean, that one kind of, no, this one definitely doesn't fit. That's way too big. This one? Yeah, I bet that's it. Let's see what this one does. There's way too much room for error there. No, that will spray to the sides. It's got a little slick in it, so I'm saying it's this one. I'm afraid to push that down on there. I don't want it to spray. Yep, it does. Okay. I'm not sure if that's supposed to fall off or not, but I would suspect that it's supposed to stay on. Okay, I think it's staying on now. Let's see what happens. I'm going to read the instructions first, and then we're going to do this. How about that? That's probably the wise thing to do. All right, so give me 1 second. I'm going to read. Well, there's no directions anywhere. It tells you warning tips and stuff and how to not transport this and in vehicles and airplanes, and that it's extremely dangerous, extremely flammable. But there are actually no directions whether this is to be filled head down or up or yeah, so I don't know. I'm just gonna put me on some safety glasses so I don't squirt myself in the eye with butane. How much fun that would be this evening, but I'm gonna pass. So here we go. This just I don't know. Let's try this way. Okay, had a little bit of goof up things going on here. It's kind of weird, but I'm gonna keep that on there like that, set to the side, out of the way. And this is a lot like your valve stem in a tire. So you push down on it and stuff can go in, but spring loaded to hold back out and keep the seal. All right, so now I've got it. See if it'll work. Let's see if I can figure it out. I get a little bit to come out. It's not seeming to work. There we go. And it works. And it's hands-free if I set it down like that. Awesome. And it turns off. That's great. Okay, so let's get us a piece of wire. I've got, this is 14 gauge wire here. This is going to be real good for the red. The red wire is good for the red connectors. And I just threw that one on the floor. Okay, and I just realized this is a solid wire. I don't want to use that. I want to use a multiple wire. This is 14 gauge, it's black. Let me get out some here. So the core of this was just one solid wire, and this is multiple wires. And I'll try to show you here. I'm just going to strip some insulation back. You can see that there's a lot of wires here. It's not just one core wire. This one is core. So this is something you'd find in your outlets at home. I didn't want to test on that. I wanted to test on this stuff. Okay, so let's see if the red fits this. And if I can figure out where the opening is. There it is. I wonder if this is big enough. This is big enough. Fits in there real nice. Okay, so what I'm wanting to do is cut these down just a bit. I seem to have stripped back a little bit too much insulation off this wire, and that should do well. Let's see if I can get this to work. This is actually really tight fit, so 14 gauge is going to be tough on this one. Oh wow, yeah. So I'm going to do the blue one. They're a little larger. I feel they're too large for this, but let's see what happens. I hope y'all can see some of this. So I've inserted the wire till the yellow is, see if I can get that to focus, till the copper part is actually at the solder band. I'm going to stick this one in there, and it's also entering the solder band. I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this camera around to where y'all can see it from my angle and get better lighting on it. Let's see how this works. Alright, let's see if we can get this to focus in on that. So yeah, get the copper in there like so. See if I can get my torch running again. I'm going to set that down. Okay. So getting that adjusted to where the copper is in the band, like so. I'm going to heat shrink this up. Wow, my torch must be really way too hot for it, because it literally just melted it. Yeah, that's not very good at all. We'll have to try this again and try it further away, and I'm going to turn down this torch to see if I can get a cooler flame out of it. Let's see. About like that. I think that'll be just about right. Alright, so now I just need to cut the ends off this and try this one more time. Okay, so we're back. I've cut the ends off and I have it lined up real nice. I'm going to keep it a little further away from the torch, and I'm going to go a little slower. See what happens. Whenever I'm hitting it with the torch here, the plastic turns clear, and it kind of spooks me out. I think I just melted through it. I think it's a hole, and my torch just turned off on me. Surely I'm not out of fluid yet. Now I still see fluid in it. Okay, well, it's up a little higher. I'm going to start further back. Yeah, way further back. I really want that solder to take. I can tell that the plastic is melting real nice. Oh, it's soft. It's real soft, so I have to be real careful about moving the wire around. And I'm going to hold it still just like that out of the heat. Let that cool down, because right now it's really soft. Set that out of the way. Let me see if I can get this in the camera for you. I might have to let that cool down for a bit. So right now the plastic covering that I've got here, this connection, it actually expanded this way. And I'm sorry, the camera's not focusing in unless I give it something to focus on. It seems to look good, and as it's cooling down, it's fogging up again. The plastic doesn't seem to be as clear. It's still a bit warm. I'm gonna give it a bit and we'll come back to that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try one of these smaller ones on this smaller wire. So give me a second, I'm gonna set some wire up for you. Okay, so this is the wire I just did, and I set up this smaller wire, and this one actually is a solid wire. There's not multiple strands inside. So this is also going to test something for me. It's going to test if when this solders together, if it's going to hold a grip onto the solder. And these, when you have multiple strands in there, I think the solder has more things to grab a hold of, more texture, a lot like paint. And this is what I just cut out a while ago. This is how bad this can actually get if you don't. But the solder seems to have melted onto the wire nicely there. It's just I overcooked the plastic, and that is the chore here. You're trying to melt the metal, but the metal is under the plastic. And if the metal's under the plastic's gonna melt first. Yeah, so you'll wanna take your time and cook this slowly so the solder has time to heat up and not overcook the plastic, because that is your insulation from the outdoor weathers. So let's see if we can get my torch to start up again like it's supposed to. Oh, okay. And what I'm doing now is I'm checking to make sure the two copper parts of the wire are actually in that metal band, and I'm staying way out here. And what caught fire right there was the insulation on this wire. So that means the actual connector is more fireproof than insulation on this wire. And I'm just hoping I'm about 2 inches from the insulation, and it's melting it. I wanted to turn my torch down, but it seems like it doesn't want to run on low. So I'm gonna strip this wire back again, and we're gonna test it one more time. Let's see, that just burned it up real good. I'll pull on it, see what is really soft. All that I felt was this was soft and rubbery, and it did not have any good tensile strength at all. So that makes me wonder how much this actually will hold. All right, so let's do this again. I'm gonna put you on pause and then we'll restart. Okay, so we're on try number 2. I just cut this end down here. I just cut it in the middle, and we're gonna do this again. Okay, this time I'm gonna hold the wire still, and I'm gonna use the torch with my right hand. See if I can, yeah. I have much more control of the torch if I do it this way. I like that a lot better. I'll turn this around. I know this is blurry on y'all guys. Please be patient with me. I'm just trying to do a good job on the connection first. Okay, I'm gonna hold it still like that for now and let that cool. Actually, let me just set it down over here, not move it. Meanwhile, I'm gonna pick this one up, let y'all take a look at it. little foggy spot on the back side. It is much more rigid now that I have it cooled down. Tensile strength wise, yeah, that's holding real nice. This is a lot more, is a lot thicker than this. Is the blue one, it's the largest one. This one, of course, the sleeve on it is a lot thinner. So we're talking about whenever this shrinks down, it's grabbing hold. I like it. I like this one. So what I want to do is see if there's any resistance in here, if it's created some issue, and that's just taking an ohm meter to it. So I'm going to cut this in half. And I'm going to get my little ohm meter out and see how good that connects. I'm sure a cheap little Harbor Freight one will work just fine. Don't know if y'all can read that from there. All right. I got 3 zeros. Y'all probably can't see that. See if I can get it to where y'all can see it. Yeah, that's doing real good. So the larger ones, I'm going to say are a win. Let me, I've let this cool down just for a minute here while I've been talking, and let me strip this off and test it. Wow, all the way through. All right, so this one has good connection and it is cool to the touch. Let me see if I can pull it apart. Holy cow, that's actually holding. Yeah, that's really strong. I think I can have more confidence in this now. It's all about heating it slowly and then letting it cool before you test it or try to pull on it. So whenever you put this together, just put it together and let it sit there. But that is working great. Wow, I'm actually impressed. As cheap as these things were on wish.com, you can find these things for free, just pay shipping, and that some of them they're just $1 for 100. So yeah, I think I would buy more of these. I'm a little impressed because we have a really good seal on all of these edges. These white bands are what's supposed to grip the wire. The solder's going to help grip. I like it. I'm going to show it to some of my car buddies later on and see what they think about it. And I might try and find another wire that's medium between this one and that black one and try out the red one so I can have all three tried and let them have a look at it, see what they think. Now there's a few guys at work I know are electricians. They might want to see these things and see how well they work. But I'm actually impressed. I think that'll work. It'll work great. It'll save me a lot of time cutting out little pieces of, we call that the heat shrink tubing to go over the wire to slide back down later. And how many times have I put them together and crimped them and then looked down and went, where'd the heat shrink tubing go? And I forgot to put it on the wire. So those things always get me, and I won't forget them if they're already put together in a bunch. So that's not a bad deal. I'm gonna try going with that more often. We'll see what happens. Might regret it and have to cut it out and do it the old-fashioned way that I know is dependable, but that's live and learn kind of thing. All right, it's kind of late at night. I'm gonna start making noise on that stuff tomorrow. I do need to go digging around in my scrap pile of metal and find a tube, and I might have to go to the parts store tomorrow, buy bolts that are longer. I'm gonna get that to fit. I think that's gonna be awesome. This is kind of cool when you look at it this way. A little honeycomb thing inside that. All right, that's going together, and I do still have my threaded into my 1/4 inch metal rod here to make my extended linkage to open the butterfly valves. I'm good to go. I'm going to do some stuff. Tomorrow I've got some lights to put in and finish up the bottom of that hood scoop. Might even have time to paint it if it's warm enough. Actually, cool weather's kind of okay to paint in. Super hot weather dries out the paint too fast and it looks funny. So I'm going to do that. So we're going to catch y'all in the morning. You ready? Let's go. All right. So starting again this morning, one thing I got to take off my wedding ring. I don't want to end up getting my finger in a spot and that degloving my finger. And I'm going to use my die grinder here and cut off these 4 pieces here. I need to get that air filter down in here better, and that way I can get accurate measurements of what sizes I need. Yeah, so let's do this. You ready? See how fast I can go. Okay, I got those pretty well cut off, and a couple of metal burrs I need to take care of on the back side here, but not too bad. Nothing that won't take but a second to clean up. For right now, I want to see how well this fits in here. This is what I want. Come on. Got to kind of massage it into place here. Yeah, it sits down in there really nice. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay, so next is the metal piece that goes on top, and that's where I get to figure out how to get, I need this little metal thing to stay on there. All right, so yeah, let me go grab that real quick. Okay, go this way? I think it goes this way. Oh man, that's gonna be awesome. Wow, I can't believe that fits so well. Okay, so I've got about three things I've got to do here. And I've got to put in a divider here, and I've got to find a piece of tubing I can weld on to anchor to the center of the carburetor. I've got to put in a steel wall in here to set on the back side of this gasket from here down to seal real well. I got to do that on front and back. And the third thing I've got to do is I've got to drill in holes here and here for these 4 bolts. And I need to take some tubing. The only tubing I had on hand is this, and it's a little too large. This is actually 1/2 inch tubing, and the bolts are 1/4 inch bolts. So I did go to the store and I did pick up some longer bolts, and while I was there I looked for some tubing. I can find some spacers and stuff. I'm gonna try to make something work. Shouldn't be too hard, but this also gives me, there's a gap here now, so I know it's going to cinch down just a little bit, but not enough. So I need to make that tube about that long. I need to find out that dimension. It needs to come up above this surface so that I have a flat top on it. The bolt will seat on real nice. A little bit of fabricating to do. I think it's time for less talk and more action. Let's get this in. Let's do this. Okay, so now I'm at a spot where I need to drill some holes, and I have went to the store and picked up some items here. I found these little sleeves, and they fit the bolts just right. So what I need to do is drill a hole big enough for the sleeve to go in, and then once the sleeve's in there, I'm going to weld it in to where it sits right, and that's what the bolt's going to go through, since these surfaces are unlevel, and that's what's going to make a level surface. So I've got to drill 4 holes. I'm going to use a bit like this to drill the first pilot and all of it, and then I'm going to use one of these popular bits to just drill on down into the hole. For some reason these don't like to start a hole. Maybe this one does. This one does, these don't. This one I think is wore out. Anyways, that's what's next. Got to drill some holes and then double check that I've got these holes lined up with the air cleaner, the air scoop, and make sure whenever I weld this in, it's welded in the right spot, because there's not much room of play between these two going this way. So I got to have them just about dead on. If not, then I'll have to resort to a larger tube and yeah, give me some room to wiggle. But otherwise, I did get these 2 dams put in, and this is where the edge of the air cleaner is going to land. I'm going to have to get the grinder out and take this top edge down just a hair on both sides, and there's not much more cleaning up to do. I'm going to wire brush it all, and then once it's all welded together, it's going to get painted. Also got this in, so this is where the carburetor is going to bolt on. That's going to be awesome, because this is the size of the bolt that the carburetor has, and I might have to drill that out just a little bit, but that's where the wing nut's going to go to hold this onto the carburetor. After I get all that done, I'm going to take the plasma cutter back out and use this piece of sheet metal here, and I'm going to cut me some strips. I had a few strips, but they were really narrow, and I'm going to have to drill a bolt hole in it larger, and so I'm going to get some wider strips out of this, and those are going to help anchor this thing down. I can't help think that I need something in the back to keep support so it doesn't want to fall backwards, but if I just be patient, I think the front 2 will be enough, because if you're pulling back on this hood scoop, it's going to rock and try to pull down on this. Well, the tensile strength is what I'm relying on, and it's going to be awesome. All right, so let me get to cutting this stuff up, drilling this stuff out, and then maybe I'll get you a little more of that time-lapse footage. I hope y'all like that. It's going to be fun. Feel like Superman going so fast. Be back in a sec. Alright, so I've got that base really pretty much all made. I think all it needs is paint now. We're just getting a test fit on the car. I just need to take this wing nut over there, and I'm going to show y'all what all I've done here. So take a look at the take a look what I got here. Alright, so I even got in, this is from the PVC valve here. It goes to the underside and pulls any vapors out of the engine and burns it back through the out of the crankcase and burns it back through the carburetor. So what we have here is I finally got my bolt in. I've got all this welded up, and the wing nut's going to go on top of this. And what I'm hoping for here is I can get this wing nut down far enough. The last thing you want to do is drop this wing nut. All right, so that's tight. And what I'm looking for is how tall is it? Yeah, I think it's clearing. Okay, so now I can put my hood scoop on here. It still turns a little bit, so I can do a little bit of adjusting. And I'm gonna go to the front, see how straight I've kind of got it. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, this is how it goes on. And I've got the 4 bolts that's got to go on the bottom of this. So let me set up the camera, or I think I'll just fast forward to once I get it bolted on, let y'all see it. Okay, there it's on. I don't know how straight I've got it. It moves around just a little bit whenever I'm torquing around on the wrenches. I'll have to work on a technique on how to put those on. Those bolts on the bottom, they tend to move around. I got a bit of a gap here. I could probably cinch this one down. So what we have is there is rubber cushion all the way around that air filter, and what you're looking at is if I tighten down the back corner, this front corner up here will need more. So I can't tighten the back corner all the way down. I'm going to have to go loosen it up, tighten this one down a little bit more. I'm going to take this tape off. So there you have it. This is what I was wanting. It's pretty much center. Let's see if we can't get a look inside here. And there you have it. There's the air filter in there. I think that's much better than having just a couple of these small little round air filters on those carburetors. This one carburetor is going to have one big air filter now. I like that a lot better. And this hose has to go to this inlet. I think I got plenty of room for that. That's awesome. So the next 2 things is working on the linkage and trying to figure out where to take this bolt to. If I put a strap on here and then zigzag it down, it will have to go down to here on an intake bolt or to here. Maybe the other side can go to there. And I am noticing some antifreeze. I guess my fitting right here on this hose is not tight enough and it's letting some antifreeze out. That's very interesting. Okay, so I gotta do some measuring, and I need cut a couple of strips of metal, and yeah, then I can work on anchoring it down. I'm looking in the back here. I've got a bolt here. I don't know where I could anchor this down to that it would actually help. I don't know. Yeah. So you can see how much distance between this one and that one forward. That might be my answer. I might just have to make 2 straps. One go to this one and have another one go from the other side down to the other side of this one. Right over here. Okay, well, can't do anything till I get straps cut. Let's see what I can do. Hey everybody, so I've almost got one of the brackets made. It's going to go from the thermostat housing up to the air cleaner or bug scoop, the bug catcher scoop. The other one, I need to make it a little steeper here. It needs to come up more aggressively. So I just put a large crescent in my vise here, and I just kind of bend this by hand. Alright, and not only did it need to be steeper than this one, but it needed to be about 1 inch longer. Actually about 3/4. We're going to put it right there. So let's hope this works. Alright, and to help make that not such an arch, I bang on it with a hammer. It kind of makes it a little better. Now I'm going to test this, see how I was high enough or not high enough, and I got to be real careful about making sure this is at the right level. Don't set it on top of the head of the bolt. Don't set it on top of the head of the bolt and measure it, because then it's got to be under the bolt like that. So I got to make sure I measure it right. But yeah, it's a little steeper an inch longer. Yep, I think that's going to work. I'm still got to drill a hole and cut this off. The same with this one. I bent this one in the wrong spot. That's why it looks like that. It actually needed to be bent here, and I'm going to cut that off so I don't have to worry about it and drill a hole there too. So I've already got the holes drilled for the thermostat housing. Yeah, let's go see if those work. Okay, so here we are, and I've got the two straps in place. You can see them there, going to each side of the thermostat housing, going up to the bottom. And whenever I reach up here and pull back on it like the wind would push on it, yeah, it's not going anywhere. I can go side to side just a little bit, but other than that, it's not going anywhere. So my next goal is I've got to take this zigzag bar here and run it from this pivot ball on the end of this, and it's going to sit in here about like so. Well, it's not long enough to reach the second pivot ball that's right back here on the back side. So I need this, let me switch hands, this to run right down in there like that. And for that to do that and be able to make it up here, I need it a couple of inches longer, and this needs to extend out another inch or so. So let's get over here to the workbench where I've already got one end threaded, and I just got to bend it and then thread the other end. No problem, right? All right, so that's next goal. Once I get that done, then I have to tear it all back apart so that I can paint it. Each one of those pieces have to be painted so they don't rust. And I'm not sure if this one needs to be painted or not, but it wouldn't hurt. Anyways, that's the next step. Making a larger one of these. Okay, so what we got here is the new one I made, and this is the old one sitting underneath. And you can see the length difference and how much further out it went. So I've got this idea that maybe the linkage would work better if I had the Z part start here to cut across and end up here. I need just that much length. So instead of this angle being here, I want it to go straight from that mark all the way over to here. That's what I'm wanting to build. This linkage isn't bad that I just built. It's okay, but it's kind of floppy. And I'd like to remove all of that by taking off this Z, get that angle out and get it a little straighter shot. I think that's going to help. So I'm going to make one more, and if all else fails, I can go back to this one. This one's fine, but I think I want a better one, and that's why I left these on the ends, because I need to know exactly how far to thread them and how much to how long to cut it, where to bend it. So here we go, round number 2, making my second part. Alright, so I have this one piece bent to what I'm thinking I'm wanting, and this is what I'm looking at. About like that. I think that's going to work just right. I have a mark right here with the pencil that I need to cut it at. I need to thread both ends and try it on the car. I tell you something I need 2 grinders. This whole video that I've been shooting today, I've been switching back and forth from this sanding disc to this cutting wheel. So I've got to cut off this piece, then I've got to put the sanding disc back on, and every time I got to take this little piece off, flip it around, and I really enjoy having a second grinder. So okay, so we got that one cut and it is on there, and it looks real good. I like that. It tucks in as soon as possible, because the hole in the hood, when you cut, you're going to have to cut across here and then down and then back in. And yeah, I might just go from about here and just then taper back, make it look less obvious. But yeah, I like the angle of that. Seems a lot better. the butterfly valves don't open all the way whenever I have a full throttle, but if I do anything else, it's going to get in the way to being able to keep it from the throttle opening all the way. So then I'd have problems down here with it hitting stuff. So I have raised it up one here, but that turns into a mess where it opens it so far that the linkage here stops the throttle. So it's either going to hit down here if I move it, or it's going to hit a dead end here where it won't let it go. So the next thing on the list is the tail lights, if y'all remember that. Yeah, let me open the garage door and take a look. I'll show y'all what the problem is I have. Okay, so here we have it. If y'all notice, this car used to be gold in color, but when they decided to paint the car, they just took the lenses off and just sprayed over everything. So I have automotive black paint on every stitch of that, and it even looks like it got down in there. I don't even think they even okay, so my issue is with the fiberglass car, the ground wire goes to one of these two, maybe even that, in the backside, and so I've got to make sure I've got a good ground. I'm gonna replace the bulb first and see if it just works. It's still got good ground, and if it doesn't, then I have to start getting underneath the car and trying to figure out what's the problem. I bet you both of them are painted over. Okay, I thought I'd show you a few things that I found out. So this is the actual tail light benzel that sits in the car, and there's two bolts. There's a bolt here and a bolt there that went through and held this to the car. And what's really crazy is the fact that the bolts went through the car to hold this to the car, but there's this bolt and that bolt, they're broke off, and that's why they put separate bolts in there and there. So here's the deal. The light socket for this light only has one wire going into here, and it's just the power wire, and the ground wires were running off of one of these two bolts. So to ground this thing off, you have to have down to the metal. And I got my little die grinder out and I was grinding away, and it has these great neat little stamped in letters here. So, it tells you what bulb to use or whatever. And well, if you can look at that, how many layers of paint was painted on this. So you have a primer coat, I don't know, some kind of brown, a tan, then a brown, then a yellow, which is probably the World Bonnet yellow, which is, you can see it's right there on the edge of this. That's the color, the original color of the car. Then there's another, man, I want to say that was another primer, then another yellow, then the black is on top. I don't know how many times this thing got painted over the years. It's crazy. So yes, this was the bolt that was holding on to doing the grounding through this hole, and yeah, you can see how rusty it is. So I have to have electricity, the ground, run from this bolt through all the way in to the outside sleeve that's in there, and that sleeve is this copper piece that you see sticking out. So I cleaned it the best I could. I've wiggled it, and so what I can do is, you can see down in there, and I can get a ground to here. But when I get on top of the copper sleeve, I cannot get a ground. So this sleeve is not got good connection to this actual housing. So I know from here, I'm sorry guys, from here to right there, I have electricity that will run. It's all connected, but on top of this copper sleeve. So I tried pulling the copper sleeve out. It's kind of tack welded in. It's not happening. I tried taking a piece of solder and soldering the copper to the actual outside sleeve here. That wasn't working either. I'm not using the right stuff, and I wasn't using any flux either. So I either have to get a new tail light, or what I'm thinking about doing is I'm going to go ahead and drill out this sleeve, this little shoulder here. I'm gonna cut that all out, and then I'm gonna take this piece in right here, this end piece. I'm gonna take that into the parts store. They make aftermarket boots for your bulb to fasten into, and I won't have to rely on ground being on one of these. There will be two wires, a ground and a positive, and I can run those wires to the back of that plug. I can replug all these lights like that just by drilling out that hole. I think that's what I'm going to do, but that's not going to happen tonight. I'm going to have to put that on the back burner, and I'll have to hit on that on the next weekend. So that project blew up. I thought it was just a bulb. Maybe I could scratch around in there and break some dirt loose and be able to get the light bulb to take in, but nope, it wouldn't do it. I've got one of the reverse lights, so I know it's working back there. I just got to get the other one. Anyways, this is going to wrap up this weekend's episode, and I want y'all to like, subscribe, and put in comments if you have something. If you have some parts or something you think, or you know a part number that I could use for that, oh, that would help me out so much. But anyways, that's where I'm at. As far as the hood, talking about doing a fiberglass mold of it, we're looking around $300 or $400 for the mold kit, and I'd have to mold it myself. That's not bad. That's way better than paying $2,000 for a hood, but that's gonna have to be in a while. So if I cut a hole in this hood, it's too late. I can't make a mold of something with a hole in it. So I need to mold it before then. We're gonna see what happens. I'm gonna have to either get in some overtime at work or something to pay for that one, but it might go run around the block a couple times without a hood on it, which as long as it's around the block, I don't think it's gonna matter. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be the end of the episode. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate all your support, and as always, that's right, y'all have a good weekend.